Are you enthusiastic about It Chapter 3? You must be just as overjoyed as I am, and you will be glad to learn that your wait might soon be over. The sequel to It, directed by Andy Muschietti, once again picks up 27 years after the events of the first film. Nearly all of the Losers Club members have left Derry and established new lives for themselves, struggling to remember what has actually happened. Only Mike Hanlon remains, and when Pennywise reappears, he calls the other losers to Derry to fulfill their pact and defeat It. The losers reunite to defeat the clown, possibly even once and for all, in It Chapter 2, after each of them has gone through their own individual battle with It. After gathering all of the tokens required to carry out the ritual of Jude that will ostensibly defeat It, the Losers Club enters the sewers and soon began the ritual, which involves chanting and burning the tokens. But it is totally ineffective. The key, according to Mike, is to have faith that it will work, despite the fact that he lied about the ritual of Jude by keeping a secret that the Native Americans who attended it were murdered by Pennywise. That represents a significant change from Stephen King's novel, in which two distinct rituals of Jude help the losers defeat their shape-shifting old enemy. One could argue that the losers from It Chapter 2 simply lack sufficient faith in the ritual's success, and given what they had just gone through, it's not hard to imagine that to be the case. The Losers Club eventually comes to the conclusion that confronting Pennywise and making him appear small is the best strategy for dealing with the bully. They yell at It, calling it nothing more than a clown, and eventually shrink it down to an incredibly small size. Fear strengthens Pennywise's entire existence as a monster, and the losers' belief that It is undefeatable makes it more difficult for them to prevail in the conflict. When the losers are able to permanently get over their fear of Pennywise, his impact fades, making him an easy target for a dose of his own medicine. There's a lot of interest in more Pennywise and the Losers Club adventures, but as we previously stated, the director is skeptical of the idea, stating that the sequel was more of a conclusion of the story between the losers versus Pennywise. The widespread fan obsessions, however, may lead us to believe that Warner Bros. Will soon release its third sequel. It is unknown when Chapter 3 will be released, but a movie with that level of appeal will almost certainly have a sequel. It is anticipated that It Chapter 3 will be released in 2023. As a result, fans of the It chapters will have to wait a little bit longer.
Okie dokie. Just come on in a little closer and we'll blow it away on the count of 3.
The cast went through a significant change between the first and second It films. There isn't an official cast list either, because the third installment hasn't been confirmed. As a result, we all are completely in the dark about what is happening. Additionally, since the first 2 installments were based on Stephen King's books, we already know who would portray the new characters and who would play the returning ones. There isn't much left to learn, because, as was previously stated, the plot has been fairly well summarized. In light of this, the only way the franchise can continue is by starting a brand new narrative, or perhaps by explaining how everything began. The cast will indeed be different if that is the case, but there's also a chance that the same character will appear in Chapter 3 of It. In the end, it was the cast that first contributed to the success of the franchise. The adventures of the Losers Club were the subject of the 2 parts. However, you should be aware of what happened if you have seen the conclusion of the film It. Before we go any further, we wanted to let you know that it's time for you to smash that like button if you haven't done so already. There is a possibility that Jessica Chastain and Jay Ryan would come back if Chapter 3 does happen, since their final scene shows them watching the sunset on a yacht, clearly in love. The only scenario is that Bill Skarsgård will play Pennywise in the third film, which will give Pennywise the lead role once again. The Losers Club and Pennywise would need to appear in an It Chapter 3 in order to continue the story, and bringing either of them back would undermine the impact of Chapter 2's conclusion. In addition, the likelihood that the young cast, who is the franchise's true stars, will appear in a potential third film in flashback scenes decreases the longer they wait. Even though Muschietti's 2-part adaptation of King's book did ignore some details, the loser section of the book was entirely covered in the films, so there isn't anything left over to adapt for a third film. perhaps they can continue the It universe in some other way without doing a traditional Chapter 3. Bill Skarsgård confirmed in September 2019 that he had spoken with Muschietti about the potential plot of a third film, hinting that it wouldn't be quite what people expect and would instead be something different. The first two stories are the book, and the second film is the end of that story, so we would do something quite literally off-book. There are a few ideas floating around, he added. The larger macroverse, which includes Matron the Cosmic Turtle and Pennywise's general origins, were two things that both movies ignored. There is still a lot we don't know about Pennywise and his past, but the macroverse content may prove to be too bizarre to be adapted for the screen. It's something Muschietti has considered as well. Any spinoff wouldn't ruin what Muschietti accomplished with the two films, because it would center on Pennywise and not continue the Losers Club story. Therefore, it seems like a safer bet than creating a comeback for Pennywise, who is very much dead at the end of It Chapter 2. But could Pennywise have remained alive in secret? The movie doesn't seem to imply this is a possibility, but Stephen King, whose classic horror novel inspired both It movies, has occasionally hinted that the supernatural being might have remained after the Losers Club's decisive victory.
Kiss me, fat boy.
There are many great aspects of the It franchise, but Bill Skarsgård is the main reason we want more films in the series. The actor's portrayal of Pennywise is eerie, humorous, and legendary. As one of the most recognizable horror villains to have graced our big screens, he is our absolute favorite Pennywise. We expect more. He scares us so effectively. Andy Muschietti, the director of the IT films, has publicly stated that there is enough Pennywise mythology to support additional It stories. Since millions of years ago, there has been an entity on Earth known as Pennywise. It has only recently, a few hundred years, come into contact with people. As a result, it sounds like you need to smash that subscribe button and notification bell so you'll never miss any of our videos in the future. So who exactly is Pennywise? Audiences are curious. What other forms does it take? What led the monster to take on the shape of Pennywise the Dancing Clown? Was there a real-life Pennywise? In King's book, Pennywise makes reference to the name Bob Gray. Who is Bob Gray? There are so many unanswered questions regarding the enigmatic It creature. It remains to be seen what happens, but we wouldn't bet against us all floating again. See you in the next video.